Hi there. Um, I want to present today uh, a practical video on 5 affirmations you can do on a daily basis, even during the day. Like in Islam, you would pray to Allah 5 times a day. And I almost wanted sort of a kind of equivalent in as far as the Gnostic spiritual movement is concerned, which sounds a very pompous and pretentious thing to say, but it's there anyway. I can't help it. And sort of, it's just a kind of like, I don't know, shorthand really. But stereotype, if you like. But anyway, there's these 5 affirmations, and starting at spirit, and they are attributed to the alchemical or elements of Western magical tradition. So here we have spirit at the top here, top of the pentagram traditionally. And this is the affirmation that eternal union with God and eternal oneness with God, I might say, is also there's there. I had the word union as well, but oneness, I suppose, eternal oneness with God. Um, and that's nailing my colours to the mast, isn't it? Really, oneness rather than union, because union would imply that God and soul are separate, but in the same bed together, as it were. And oneness implies that there is no separation between soul and God. And this is one of the great debates in the spiritual community at large, actually, whether there is oneness or union. But I meant to put union and I've put oneness instead. But since I have no idea what the words mean, eternal oneness with God, I suppose it's a bit of a moot point, because as a philosopher, I would want to unpack each of those words. I want to define God. I would want to define oneness. I would want to define eternity, and I want to define even with, sort of the particle there called with, the grammatical particle with. And I'd want to put them all together and analyze them meticulously. And But unfortunately, that's probably not a good idea, because it doesn't really get you very far. And I suppose all you're left with basically is just the words, eternal oneness with God. And they sound wonderful words. They sound words that are full of significance and power, and they kind of take you by the scruff of the neck and shake you, as it were, um, fill you with hope and light, and love and life, and liberty, as they imply all these things. But I mean, even if you're an atheist, you can feel a certain oneness with the universe, perhaps. And there was a saying that I came up with that death is no separation from the elements that gave you life, which I think is something that even an atheist could say, without actually uh, betraying the atheistic stand that they take. I mean, there is no God with a beard sitting in a cloud. I mean, that's sort of Monty Python and the Holy Grail kind of thing. Or you can take it literally. I mean, you can take it literally that there is a literal God and there's literal eternity, oneness with God. Or you can take it metaphorically, you can take it psychologically, or you can take it in a sort of Jungian archetypal kind of way, that this God is the archetypal perfect consciousness, and that you achieve this oneness in the here and now, and it feels like the eternity, even though it isn't eternity. So there's lots of different ways of interpreting this first affirmation. Um, it's a mysterious, occult, hidden affirmation. It's an affirmation which, what does it mean? What does it mean? You know, and basically, I suppose, like a bit like a poem by E. E. Cummings, it's best not to look at a meaning, be intellectual about it or analytical. You just take the words at face value, eternal oneness with God. And they have a certain emotional charge to them, obviously. But they also have a sort of like a kind of a feeling I don't really care what they mean. I've just said the words, and there we are, sort of thing. It's like I look at a cup on the table, and the cup is just there. It's just a phenomenon. So you could say this is a phenomenon, this eternal oneness with God. And it describes a state, either consciousness or physical state or metaphysical state or whatever, or it describes something which is beyond my abilities to describe. so so that's the first affirmation of the day, and then coming down to the second affirmation, which is rather sort of Zen kind of contradiction, is that is the future is history. This is a sort of cliche. I know it's a kind of new age cliche, really, that the future is a mystery rather than history, although in ways it is history. The future is a mystery because, well, we do know that within certain parameters it isn't a mystery at all. I mean, this world is for the fire, according to most religions of the book, or the religions of the book. This world will be destroyed by fire. Whether you're a Zoroastrian or a Muslim or a Judaic follower of Judaic religion, or a Christian, there's no mystery about it. And even if you're an atheist, the sun will go supernova at some point in the future, and this planet will be destroyed. And even before then, or millions of years before then, the planet will probably become uninhabitable to most species of animal and plant, for various different reasons, natural reasons. And so there you are. I mean, it doesn't take you to be a metaphysician, to understand that in fact the future is pretty sealed, actually, in terms of actual physics and matter. And so, but what I mean by mystery is that for you and for me and for your community, and for your country, even, anything can happen in the future. Ill fortune, good fortune, mixed fortune, it doesn't really matter. You've literally no idea what's going to come up. And I mean, I think you can think of many examples in your own life where something changed and you really weren't expecting it. Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans, as John Lennon said. So I mean, and that's absolutely true in the pure physical, material kind of way of looking at the world, because you can never tell what's going to happen. And things happen fast, things happen slowly, things happen to you, things happen to other people which impact on you. I mean, you could think of a million examples, really. So that's the second contemplation of life, is of the day, is that the future is a mystery, which is also kind of charged with a feeling of hope, really, because you think, oh, I'm in a bit of a rut at the moment in life. I want to redefine myself, and but I don't have to wait to redefine myself like David Bowie. I can just things will just happen, and they will redefine me at a very fundamental level. So just let it go. Don't grasp on to a future through ambition, through frustration, or frustration is the opposite of ambition, I suppose, or success or failure, because anything can happen. And within success, there can be failure. Within failure, there can be success, and so on, with all the cliches that come to mind when you think about this one cliche that the future is a mystery. And so going on to the next one, contemplation. This is right. Of course, well, I attributed to that affirmation to fire, because I suppose within the fact that everything is history is a mystery. The future is a mystery. A mystery. That's fire, because fire is going to actually destroy the future. There is no future, but the fire, in terms of the material and physical universe. So we come on to the here and now, which is Earth. And Earth is about being practical about life, and making do with what you've got. You make the best of what cards are dealt to you in life, even though the hand may change later, which is the point of the last affirmation. And challenges become opportunities. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So there's the various cliches that come to mind, and pay no mind to what you haven't got, because what you haven't got you may never have, due to one thing or another, and that's okay. You won't become you won't win an Oscar. You know what I mean? So and who cares anyway? And So what you haven't got, you pay no mind to. You go into a no mind, into Buddhist meditation, which is good for nothing, good for nothing. When you haven't got anything when you're in the sort of Buddhist contemplation, because you don't need anything. What more do you need? What more do you want? But on a practical level, you make do with what you've got. Now, it doesn't mean to say, I think, that people cannot have aspirations, collectively and individually. So, we have the trade union movement, for example, which seeks to better the lot of the workers, that it's representing in a particular industry. Um, and But in a way, that's also making good with what you've got. Really, you're in this industry, as a worker, as an employee or whatever, and you make the best of it, and you make sure that there is a level playing field where you can make the best of this industry, trying to iron out some of the unfair practices, or unfair pay structures, that go with the industry. So you're making best of it. You're not going to get rid of the whole industry. You're not going to bring down the industry. That would be stupid. But you are going to seek fairness within the industry, for everybody employed by the industry. So that's fair enough. That's a good contemplation. It would imply on one hand, but also the expectation of change on the other as well, really. And then finally, the actual final affirmation of the day would be, may I remember these words of wisdom. May I remember the words, in the face of this world, because this world is based on scarcity, and ill fortune, and on the various demons that control this world, or the archons, and they want you to forget all the wisdom, and they want you to go into foolishness, and craziness, and tribalism, and nationalism, and xenophobia, and blame, for other people, for your own inability to do things or to see things. You're going to blame other people, and you're going to have an in group and an out group, and all this is going to make you forget. And of course, I talk about the affirmation about, which I've actually forgotten. It's interesting, isn't it? The affirmation that the past is history. And I actually forgot that's the third affirmation. I went straight from the second to the fourth. with fifth rather. So, um, gosh, I think I need a cup of coffee. And my brain is going. I'm losing the thread here. Anyway, it's very interesting that on a personal level, I should forget about this affirmation made during the day that the past is history. Because personally, I find it very difficult to let go of the past. There is a bitterness, a resentment, and an anger associated with the past for me. But the past really is history. I mean, it's deader than dead, isn't it? I mean, you are no longer a child anymore. I mean, looking at it rationally, there is no past. I mean, and if we only could let go of the past as well. I mean, the Battle of the Boyne and the Battle of the Field of the Blackbirds and all these battles and that people hold on to and give them ethnic identity and hatred of other ethnic groups through this wars and battles and things that have happened. And you did this to my grandfather and all this kind of stuff and all this holding on to the past and using it as an excuse for cultivating ethnic identity as opposed to other people's identity, and creating in groups and out groups. Well, if only you could let go of the past. Um, but here we come to, of course, the crunch of the matter, because what I've described, this whole figure that I presented to you today, is all based on rationality. This is the rational thing to do. But in order to complete the figure, as it were, the pentagram, we have the final bar, which is, of course, the irrational. And the irrational is when you totally forget these affirmations and the wisdom that they inspire, and you totally forget everything, and you just go back into the history, and you just go back to being a child, to become childish again, and you just become well, you just lose it. You lose the plot, and you go crazy, and which is what happens to me. I just lose the plot, and I go sink into complete irrationality. And one thinks here of a sort of monstrous irrationality which grips a whole community of people sometimes, and inspires people to go out and kill their neighbours, like it happened in Rwanda. In one morning, 1 million people were slaughtered, one tribe slaughtering another. And it had just happened one morning. I mean, they took months, if not years, of hatred and resentment and building up that hatred and resentment over the media, for years. And it just spilled out into terrible ethnic violence. And people became animals. They became monsters, not even animals, literal monsters, really, in one morning. They just went and got machetes and macheted each other's macheted their neighbours to death and their kids and everything. It was just, well, you've seen the reports of Rwanda. Look at them again and just tell me that tell me what you see, um, because what you see is not pretty. And what I see in myself is not pretty when I succumb to irrationality, to complete breakdown of all rational thought. And I forget about God, and I forget about eternal oneness, and I forget about the future is a mystery, and I forget about the past is history, and I forget about making do with what I've got, and not minding what I haven't got. And it all just spills out into mayhem and madness. And I suppose basically, and then when you do try to explore and express the irrational side of your psyche, you just get deplatformed. YouTube won't have it. They won't allow you to express. They say they want you to make videos, but when you do make videos on the irrational side of your mind, they deplatform you. So, or Twitter or Facebook get rid of you. I mean, the Facebook say they want you to say what's on your mind, but they don't really. And neither do I. I don't want to say what's on my mind because the irrational side of me is so out of order that I can't control myself at all on occasion, and ends in the desire just to commit suicide, really. So I mean, I'm like the sort of scorpion that just stings itself to death, surrounded by fire. That's the kind of picture that I present to you of my own psyche. I don't know about yours. Hopefully, you don't go that crazy. But the craziness is there, and people say, why don't you write music to explore this craziness? But that becomes ugly modernism, and I don't want to do that. I want to create beautiful music that counteracts beautiful music based on rationality and emotional control rather than the irrational dark side of the psyche. Because I can't listen to modernist music, which seems to do that. I can't listen to grunge, grunge rock, which does that. I want to, go into this sort of world of Bach and Haydn, where everything is controlled. We have emotions, but they're emotions about God, and they're very expressed in a very controlled way with formal chord progressions and harmonics, rather than modernist madness. But I think modernist madness is great. It's great to produce, but you'd have to possibly have all private videos. You couldn't share it with people really. And which incidentally, I find it very difficult to share my religious beliefs with other people as well. That's why I don't want to join a church or anything, because I don't want to sit in a pew with loads of other people believing in God. I want to believe in God, but I don't want anyone else to, if that makes any sense. I want an exclusive kind of feeling of worship of God, and I don't want to share it with other people. Which I don't know if that's some kind of psychological significance to that. Anyway, it possibly is. So you have to kind of integrate the irrational and the rational side, and you have to kind of integrate the whining dog that I got in this room who wants to be fed, with trying to understand the universe and try to understand, the words with which I started this video, which were, eternal oneness with God. So I'm going to ramble from now on, so I'm going to park it there. But as I said, in conclusion, these 5 affirmations you might find useful during the day. You might wake up with the thought about oneness with God, and you go on to the affirmation about the futures. The future is a mystery, and then you go on to another affirmation about during the day. Perhaps at midday, that you're going to make do with what you've got, make do with your God, and you're not going to mind what you haven't got. And then finally, you're going to say, the past is history, perhaps at sunset. And then you're going to go to bed and say, may I remember these affirmations. Well, thank you for thank you for these affirmations during the day that I have remembered to say and have remembered to contemplate. And you don't just say them; I think you have to contemplate them as well. Although I suppose you could just say them in a sort of parrot-like way. I don't know. Some people say you shouldn't do that. Some people say you should contemplate these prayerful words, every day for 5 times a day. But on the other hand, that can be a bit awkward to do during a very busy day. So it might be that you just sort of, stop at midday and say, oh, well, um, the future's a mystery, and you might get to sunset and you say, well, the past is history. I'm going to let it all go, and then move on, sort of thing, after you've made the affirmation. So I kind of leave it up to you how you sort out the mode of operation as far as this is concerned, and remembering always that this world will bring you down to the practical level, to the level of necessity, which is that the dog needs to be fed. And that's the necessity that I have to deal with now, which is what's going to end this video. And you may say, thank God, the dog wants to be fed at this stage. Oh, poor little whiny dog. You whiny dog. You want to be fed? Yeah, you do, don't you?